would be so moved by the results of upgrading the voice power. Suddenly, his phone received a call from Caroline, who was also moved. She said that they sent her a link to the stream, and after it, the girl had not cried so much for a long time. She was going to have a concert in a couple of days, so she invited a streamer to it. During this conversation, Mary came into the room and said that the toilet stank very much. Caroline asked why she never told her how her brother sang like an angel. This statement shocked the blonde because in their family, everyone up to the 5th generation of mom and dad can't sing. Listening to this story, Batten agreed to perform, but set some conditions. With a grin on his face, he said that his sister would have to attend the concert. After the conversation ended, the streamer found himself thinking that he couldn't wait to see her expression. Moreover, such an event can be an ideal occasion for recognition. 2 days later, Kathleen and Batten met at the sports palace, and she noted that the guy had recently begun to disappear. Therefore, she asked what the student had been doing all this time, but did not receive a clear answer. Soon, Caroline came on stage and asked the audience if they were ready. The main character pointed out that the concert was starting and suggested we talk about it later. He asked Kathleen to help him with the stream, and he allegedly went to the toilet. The streamer had not been there for quite a long time, and the girl had already started looking for him around the hall. Caroline said that she would first invite her friend Batten to perform one song. Hearing this name, the girl was shocked and even thought that her friend had a namesake. But no namesake appeared, and the main character himself appeared on the stage. The guy greeted everyone in the audience and introduced himself, while Kathleen was still sitting there in shock. Caroline's fans were upset because she invited a TikTok clown to her concert. Mary also did not understand what she was thinking about when she called for Batten, and the indignation of the audience on this score increased. Already on stage, the student realized that he had improved his singing technique, but somehow did not think about the fear of performing in front of such an audience. Time passed, and it was time to sing the song. The guy said the first line in a trembling voice. The same artist whose performance had previously been disrupted by Batten said that he could just as easily sing himself. At this time, the streamer could not pull himself together and overcome his excitement. Then Kathleen shouted to him not to worry, and he was doing great. The student heard this and smiled sweetly, which is why the audience stopped hating him. He was once told that in order not to feel nervous on stage, you need to imagine yourself singing songs for only one person. The guy should have stopped perceiving others and sung only for his beloved. And this helped him a lot because the trembling in his knees and voice disappeared. He sang, remembering all the moments he and Kathleen had together. Sweet and funny, unpleasant and inspiring. It really looked like the main character was not performing at a concert, but singing karaoke for a girl. Kathleen noted that he sings very beautifully and does it as if it were just the two of them. Mary also heard this vocal and already thought that the guy was really adopted. The crowd at the concert changed their minds, and some thought that Batten should perform solo. Until the end of the song, everyone in the sports palace sat in silence and listened to every sound that the student made. After the end of the performance, there was no reaction from the audience, which made John very tense. But then he remembered that Kathleen was delighted, and that was the main thing. Then the guy bowed and thanked everyone for their attention. Then the audience realized that the performance was over and supported the singer. In the dressing room, Batten asked Caroline if he had disappointed her, to which she replied that he had performed above all praise. Mary immediately attacked the guy with questions about where he learned to sing so well, and the answer that it was a secret angered the blonde even more, and she demanded to tell him. Batten ran away and only said that he still had plans for today. When he returned to the auditorium, Kathleen took his hand and told him that she had something to tell him. They walked for quite a long time, and the main character even asked where she was taking him. It turned out that the students came to the bridge, and there the girl asked if the guy wanted to tell her something. The streamer did not understand what she was getting at, and therefore replied that she wanted to say something. Since Batten had nothing to say, Kathleen turned around and pretended to leave. Suddenly, the main character collected his thoughts and said that he wanted their relationship to develop from friendly to romantic. But Kathleen responded negatively to the offer to become his girlfriend. The student did not expect such an answer at all. He was a little confused, but then said that there was nothing wrong with it. Still, he was grateful, because for the sake of the girl, he managed to become a better person, even though he still doesn't measure up to her. Kathleen wanted the guy to understand that he became a better person not thanks to her. He was a great fellow in his own right. He noted that he would have received 1 unit for the good man task, which he had already completed long ago. Then she came closer and said that she wanted to ask him something. She was only interested in whether the main character agreed to be her boyfriend. From such an unexpected turn of events, Batten blushed and sweat appeared on his face. The student said it again, only she was already shouting about it from the bridge. The streamer couldn't even imagine that they would start dating in such an environment and called Kathleen a goat. Batten decided to tickle her for such jokes and asked if she would do it again. She replied that she would not, and the main character said that he agreed to be her boyfriend. At that moment, the guy was so happy that he seemed to be flying in the clouds. But just recently, Kathleen seemed to him something completely unattainable. He didn't even notice how the night had passed, and he already jumped up at 6 o'clock in the morning. The first thought was whether what happened yesterday was a dream or true. To his great happiness, a message arrived on his phone from Kathleen wishing him good morning. The thought that this was not a dream even made Batten blush a little. The girl wrote to him that she was leaving for another city this week to help teachers at the exhibition. This made the guy sad because they had just started dating and she was already leaving. But then I realized that everything was still ahead, and they would still make up for it. Lying in bed, the streamer wrote that he would look forward to her return. He also added that you shouldn't run in that city, because you don't know what the air is like there. Although the main character has already lost enough weight and is comfortable in such a body, he still cannot stop running. The beginning of an official relationship with Kathleen can be considered an indicator of progress, but you should not stop there. While Batten was putting on his shoes, a sign appeared in front of him indicating the completion of the million bookmarks task. The guy was only confused by where such a large wave of new audience came from. He decided to see how many views his yesterday's concert stream got. It turned out that more than 3 million people watched the stream yesterday, and less than half were left to complete the task. Thinking that after a couple of such performances, Batten would complete the task, he received a call from Melissa. Mentally, the student hoped that she would ask him to perform at her concert. The girl apologized for bothering the guy with such an early call. It was clear from her voice that things were not going very well, as her voice was alarming. Going down the stairs, Batten said that he was no longer sleeping and asked if Melissa was all right. She replied that everything seemed fine, but it was about her charitable foundation. The main character asked what happened to the foundation if the girl had such an alarming voice. Melissa asked to meet in the evening because this situation was difficult to explain in a nutshell. The guy replied that he had classes until the evening, and after that they could see each other. As soon as the main character entered the classroom, he was surrounded by girls with compliments about how beautifully he sings. Noodles tried to calm the situation down and said that his friend already had a girlfriend. Then he asked his friend to tell the truth about what happened to him last time at karaoke. When asked if he really fooled around at karaoke and sang to the plywood yesterday, Batten replied that he had to guess for himself. In general, Noodles didn't care how his friend would become famous. The main thing was that through him the guy would have connections in show business. By the way, a parcel was left at the entrance for the main character, which Noodles helped him pick up. He said that his best friend had already started receiving letters from fans. After reading the inscriptions on the parcel, the student realized that these were letters from the village where a boy had once fallen into a gorge. The sound of a paper bag opening distracted the teacher, and she spoke loudly to be listened to carefully. The guy fenced himself off with a textbook on art history and pretended to listen. And I myself read letters where it was written that the bridge had already been built, and the builders allowed people to walk on it. Children from the village also wrote words of gratitude to the hero about how they are now not afraid to walk across the bridge. Even the boy, who was the worst student in school and most disliked writing essays, gladly wrote a letter to Batten. At the end, there were photographs of happy children and the teacher next to them. Suddenly, Julia said that she was waiting for the main character in the dean's office after the bell rang. The touched guy looked up at her with a frightened look, because he didn't know why he ended up there. Noodles reminded him whose class he was in, and asked how he was so touched by the fan's letter. A tearful Baton said that this was indeed written by fans and did not go into details. In the dean's office, Julia said that she did not call him because he did not listen to her in class. She already understands that the guy is already an established artist and her lectures will not open his eyes to something new. The girl said that she called him to offer to open a joint illustration studio. Since she has already seen the posters that the student made, she quite considers him capable.
But once he has his own studio, he will be able to recruit other students and supervise their work.
According to the contract, the protagonist will own 49% of the company, even without reading half of it. The streamer said that he had enough work from current customers, and he didn't see the point in it. It was his sister's idea that when the guy has a studio, his work process will become more structured, and it will be easier to find clients. But she knew very well that Batten was lazy and would not do such boring work, so she asked Julia to take on some tasks. After this, the girl asked if the student was ready to sign the contract. He replied that he was ready, but he had one important condition, which interested the teacher. The guy wanted 30% of the company's profits to go to charity. The words about charity interested Julia, and she asked why he was so concerned about this topic. Then Batten handed her an envelope with letters from the village children. The girl was also moved by the words that were written in the letters. She returned the envelope and said that she understood everything, so in the future they would do as Batten wanted. But he doesn't want them to just throw money into some fund for show. We will need to do really useful things ourselves. Julia promised to do just that. In the evening, in a cafe, the main character met Melissa, a famous singer. He was a little scared by what happened to the girl's face, because she didn't look like herself at all. Melissa replied that she just went out without makeup and with a painted scar. The guy asked why she needed this, because she could have just put on dark glasses and a mask. But when a famous person disguises himself so clearly, he attracts attention even more and eventually gets recognized. And when Melissa goes out without makeup and with a painted scar, people then think that she just looks like a singer. During the conversation, she realized that Batten had already ordered all the artist's favorite dishes. In response to this, he smiled sweetly and said that he was still a fan of hers. Suddenly, the girl began to laugh, and the main character did not understand what caused this laughter. But then he remembered that he had forgotten how much his infectious smile affected her. Melissa herself said that his smile lifts her spirits so much, otherwise lately she's been completely depressed. The student decided to seize the opportunity and asked what exactly happened to her fund. It turned out that due to minor surgical complications, some of her wards did not receive a scholarship this month. And after that, the girl received many negative messages from them. She said it would be better if the streamer reads these messages himself. People wrote about how stars earn millions and are given mere pennies, but this time they didn't give anything at all. They threatened that if they did not receive the money within 2 days, they would write a collective statement to the prosecutor's office. When Melissa decided to support them financially, they were still in school and were completely different. At that time, she was just starting her career, and almost no one knew her. She wanted to help them in any way, and she decided that she would pay for each of them to study, and then she organized a fund so that her employees would deal with these issues. Since then, everything has changed a lot. Gratitude was replaced by hatred, and the girl did not know where she took the wrong turn. In truth, the main character did not even think about such a development of events. After such reviews, Melissa became very disappointed in people, and she lost all desire to do charity work. After all, people are complex creatures, and you need to be prepared for different reactions. You shouldn't expect eternal gratitude when doing good. And without waiting for gratitude, there is no need to become despondent. Moreover, there is no need to take their dissatisfaction with the work of the fund personally. The guy means that thoughtless goodness is of little use, and there's no need to be blindly guided by emotions. In his opinion, any charity should be meaningful. If people get everything very easily, then very soon they will begin to take it for granted. After that, Batten gave Melissa an envelope with letters from the village children. According to him, doing good deeds is not as easy as it might seem at first glance. You need to approach everything wisely, especially good, and the actress understood this. After reading, she returned the letter to the student and thanked him. She said that after this story, all her friends were angry with those guys, and only the main character helped her get to the bottom of it. Here the streamer didn't know what to answer, and simply said that he had already thought about this topic. Suddenly, Melissa started talking about a charity concert that would be held in a couple of days. The girl started talking about it because she wanted to perform on it in a duet with Batten. This statement shocked the student, because initially he did not think that he would speak. Melissa recalled that he had already performed at Carolyn's concert, and now he wanted him to perform with her. But the thing was that at such an evening, you wouldn't surprise anyone with amateur singing. So singers need to try to come up with something meaningful. The main character suggested drawing a manga on this topic and showing it on the screen while Melissa sang. The girl didn't like this option, and she suggested making a sand animation. From such an idea, the student got up from the table and declared that he would learn this business in a couple of days. They decided that Melissa would be the music and the guy would be the show. Moving forward, the streamer thought about coming up with a story about charity. But still, first he has to learn how to work with sand. After some time, he came to the sandography studio that Melissa recommended to him. Because in order to meet the short deadline, the guy needed a first-class mentor. The actress knew one such mentor, but her character was very peculiar. Remembering these words, Batten promised himself to endure everything for the sake of art. The student entered the room and said that he had come to ask the teacher to teach him the skill of sand animation. There was no answer, and the main character already thought that the teacher was deaf. It was a girl named Olivia. At that moment, she was playing with sand. The guy came closer and said her name again, to which Olivia asked not to make noise. At the moment, she was drawing another image using sand. Batten noted that it looked cool. The process and grace of the movements amazed him. After finishing work, the girl said that she had already received a call about him, and asked why he wanted to learn sand animation. At first, the streamer was confused, but then he said that he had dreamed about this since childhood. This question was followed by another question about why Olivia would teach him. It seemed that if the main character did not answer this question convincingly, she would simply send him away. Then he said that he has a strong artistic base. He quickly grasps everything new and does not have to spend a lot of time learning it. Olivia liked this answer and even called it convincing. Then the teacher called Marlon, her subordinate, who helped teach others. She said that she would go away on business and instructed him to take care of this young man. Loaf thought it was a test and Olivia wanted to see if it was worth the time. Marlon asked the guy if he had ever worked with sand and received a negative answer. Everything became clear, and the guy invited the student to follow him into another room. There he showed him an ordinary tray with sand and suggested that he draw something simple. The main character responded with gratitude, but Marlon said that he would say thank you in at least an hour if he had enough time. For a second, it seemed to Baton that this guy was copying Olivia's manner of communication. First, the streamer tried to feel the sand in his hand and understand how to draw with it. After a couple of minutes, it was already clear how to control the speed and with what force to unclench your hand. Then the student tried to draw some primitive picture. Seeing the result, Marlon was shocked and asked if this was really his first experience with sand painting. The guy replied that this was indeed so and asked not to judge his results strictly. At that same second, Marlon called Olivia and said that someone from the other world was in their studio. When the girl entered the room and saw the picture drawn by Baton, she did not believe that he painted it himself. She asked the hero to confess if he had practiced this art before. Having received a negative answer, the teacher asked what Marlon had already taught him. He said that he simply brought the